July 2025. The world stands at a turning point. Once dominant alliances are being challenged, new powers are rising. Old rivalries are resurfacing, but in ways we've never seen before. On one side, you have NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, long considered the world's most powerful military alliance, spearheaded by the United States and its European allies. On the other, a rapidly expanding bloc known as BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, transformed into a geopolitical force with global ambitions. And now, the stage is set for one of the biggest power realignments in modern history. What started as an economic partnership is quickly becoming a challenge to Western hegemony. BRICS, once dismissed as a loose grouping of developing economies, has grown bolder. In 2024, it announced the induction of new members: Saudi Arabia, Iran, Egypt, and the UAE, bringing major oil economies and regional power players into its fold. Now, in mid-2025, BRICS is not just about trade. It's talking currency reform, a unified payment system, military cooperation, and even a joint space program. The West is officially on edge. This year, tensions have reached a boiling point. At the BRICS summit in Johannesburg this June, member states declared their intention to de-dollarize global trade. Imagine this: major economies trading oil, tech, and defense contracts in a currency other than the US dollar. For decades, the dollar has been the backbone of international finance. Its dominance gives the United States leverage control over sanctions, influence over banking systems, and a powerful grip on the world economy. But BRICS wants to break that. And with China and Russia leading the charge, the challenge isn't just economic, it's ideological. China, facing increasing pressure in the Taiwan Strait and economic slowdown at home, has doubled down on anti-Western rhetoric. Russia, still isolated over its war in Ukraine, sees BRICS as its lifeline, a way to bypass sanctions and find strategic allies. Meanwhile, India walks a careful line, balancing its military cooperation with the US while supporting BRICS economic initiatives. Brazil and South Africa, tired of Western prescriptions and conditional aid, are looking east for opportunity and influence. Together, they represent a new vision of global order: multipolar, decentralized, and, to some, dangerous. Across the ocean, NATO isn't backing down. At the NATO 2025 summit in Berlin, member states approved the largest increase in defense spending since the Cold War. The message was clear: deterrence. New battle groups have been deployed to Eastern Europe. The US has reopened talks about deploying intermediate-range missiles in the Indo-Pacific. European leaders warn of hybrid warfare, a combination of cyber attacks, disinformation, and economic coercion. In private, intelligence officials admit the balance of power is shifting and fast. The biggest flashpoint: the global South. Africa, Southeast Asia, Latin America regions, once caught in the margins, are now the battlegrounds of influence. BRICS offers them infrastructure, trade without political conditions, and a say in shaping new rules. NATO countries counter with aid, investment, and promises of democratic values. But who's winning? In Africa, Chinese-built railways, Russian military trainers, and Indian tech firms are becoming more visible than Western embassies. In Latin America, countries like Argentina and Bolivia are applying for BRICS membership, defying their traditional alignment with the West. And then there's the digital war. 2025 has seen a massive rise in AI-powered propaganda. Deepfakes targeting Western elections, manipulated videos blaming NATO for global inflation, and AI-generated voices of world leaders spreading false narratives have become alarmingly common. In response, NATO's Cyber Defense Center in Estonia has gone into overdrive, identifying and neutralizing hundreds of digital campaigns traced back to state actors linked to BRICS nations. The lines between information, warfare, and diplomacy have blurred. Energy is another battlefield. With Europe still recovering from the Russian gas cutoff, BRICS members, particularly Russia and Iran, are forging alternative energy routes. The newly completed Silk Stream pipeline connects Russia to China and India, bypassing Western markets entirely. Simultaneously, Saudi Arabia and the UAE are offering discounted oil in non-dollar currencies to BRICS-friendly nations. This not only challenges the petrodollar but also threatens to realign global energy supply chains. But perhaps the most groundbreaking development came just weeks ago. BRICS officially launched its own alternative to SWIFT, the international payment messaging system controlled by the West, called BRI Connect. This system allows member states to bypass sanctions and conduct seamless cross-border payments using digital currencies. Early adopters include Iran, Venezuela, and even some African nations. If it gains traction, the monopoly of Western financial systems could begin to crack. And still, despite the geopolitical chess match, some leaders are calling for balance. India's Prime Minister has warned against a return to Cold War blocs, urging inclusive multilateralism. France, while firmly within NATO, has suggested that Europe should pursue more autonomy in its foreign policy, less Washington, more Brussels. Brazil advocates for environmental cooperation beyond political alliances. But whether these voices will prevail is unclear. Meanwhile, ordinary people around the world are feeling the pressure. Inflation, already exacerbated by global instability, continues to bite. In developing countries, food and fuel prices have surged. In the West, economic fatigue and rising populism are challenging governments' ability to lead. As trust in institutions erodes, the global power struggle is no longer just about diplomacy. It's about the future of everyday life. The arms race is also heating up in space. Both NATO and BRICS have announced plans for independent satellite constellations used for surveillance, navigation, and military coordination. In May 2025, China launched a record number of satellites in a single week, prompting concerns in Washington. A week later, the U.S. Space Force conducted its first publicly acknowledged cyber defense drill focused on space-based threats. Experts now warn the next war may not start on land, but in orbit. Some analysts argue this isn't the new Cold War. It's worse because it's not binary. It's not just East versus West. It's multipolar, unpredictable, and heavily entangled with technology, resources, and information. In this environment, neutrality becomes increasingly difficult. Countries are being forced to choose sides or risk isolation. And there's one wild card we haven't talked about: AI. Both NATO and BRICS are pouring billions into AI-driven defense systems. Autonomous drones, predictive surveillance, and quantum communication. NATO's AI Coordination Task Force just unveiled a prototype drone fleet that can operate independently in hostile zones. Meanwhile, China's SkyMine project is rumored to be testing autonomous border defense systems, powered by machine learning. The question is no longer who has more troops, but who has better algorithms. 2025 may be remembered as the year alliances were redefined. The world that emerged after World War II, dominated by Western institutions like NATO, the IMF, and the World Bank, is being challenged at every level. A BRICS-led world won't look the same. It might offer more representation to emerging powers, but it may also come with authoritarian models of governance, surveillance-led order, and limited press freedoms. On the other hand, a NATO-led world is grappling with its own legitimacy. Crisis, internal divisions, and overreach. So where does this leave us? As viewers and citizens, we're not just observers. The choices made in Beijing, Washington, New Delhi, or Moscow will ripple into our economies, freedoms, technologies, and futures. The food we eat, the energy we use, the content we consume, the currencies we rely on, they're all part of this geopolitical realignment. This isn't just politics. This is history in real time. The rise of BRICS, the resilience of NATO, the race for digital dominance, and the quiet battle for influence in the global south, it's all unfolding now. And it will define the world we live in tomorrow. So stay alert, stay informed, and most importantly, stay curious. Because the New World Order is already being written. And you're living in Chapter 1. If you found this breakdown insightful, hit the like button, subscribe for deep dives into global power dynamics, and drop a comment. Whose side do you think will shape the future? NATO, BRICS, or something entirely new? Let's talk about it.